make money without having to work. Look at yourself as a transaction coordinator, but you need to be looking at yourself as a business owner. I was in labor and I had my laptop. Social media can be a great tool, but especially with like Instagram, it is a pay to play. So you
Yeah.
have to engage in your social media. You cannot just spend one day, post everything for the month, and hope that your social media grows.
Transaction Care, the podcast. Welcome home to the #1 real estate show on the market. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. My goal with each episode of Transaction Care is to demystify the business of real estate from my point of view and interviews from other voices within the real estate industry around the world. I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Head to transactioncarepodcast.com to join my TC community and to be sure you are subscribed to Transaction Care, the podcast, so you know exactly when new episodes are released weekly. Welcome back to another episode of Transaction Care, the podcast. I am especially excited today because we're going to be touching on one of my favorite topics, social media. So let's just get straight into it. Ashley Brennan is our guest today, hailing from Austin, Texas. Shout out to Texas. Shout out to Austin.
Whoop, whoop.
She graduated from Texas State University with a bachelor's in business management, and she is the owner and founder of the Real Estate Assistant and the TC Social Club. After working in the real estate industry for over 2 years, in 2019, she opened her company, providing transaction management, social media, and marketing services to fellow realtors. Ashley is married and lives in South Austin with her husband, a real estate photographer, along with their son and daughter. So awesome. Shout out to family. And she spends her free time seeing her favorite bands in concert, trying out latest restaurants, or spending quality time with family exploring all that Austin has to offer. So Austin is in the house today. Welcome, Ashley. I thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for, letting me come on. Like I said, I'm so excited. So
Awesome.
excited.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So let's just, get some of the, logistics out of the way and things of that nature. So tell us a little bit about what cities and states you currently service. Do you have a real estate license? Are you certified? Let's just get that stuff out of the way before we jump into your journey.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. So actually I originally started as an unlicensed assistant, and I actually didn't get my license until last year. So I was doing transaction management here in Texas. You're allowed to do that unlicensed. And last year I decided to go ahead and get that. And then currently I am working in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin are the major cities that I'm working in and that I have clients in. And but I do social media for the TC Social Club for transaction coordinators, which is nationwide. So that part of the aspect is for all over. But my bread and butter, I guess, as you can say, as the transaction coordinator is here in Texas, especially with me being licensed. I will say I've never been a realtor ever. I've never wanted to be a realtor, but I love the back end organization of it. With my background, I started as an assistant, and I love like getting people organized. I love checklists. Like a beautiful Excel spreadsheet to me is just like, I love it. Like it's just something that I've always really enjoyed organizing in general. And that's kind of like how I started with transaction coordinating. Just
Awesome. Yeah, let's take a deeper dive into that because it's important. That is a skill that is so valuable, being
yes.
organized and having the awareness that you possess this skill. So I definitely want to, let's find out how you got there. TC Social Club is definitely what I'm intrigued about at this point in time because transaction coordination is heavy, but so is social media and marketing
Yeah.
and things like that. So let's go back. So let's rewind a little bit. How did
Yeah.
you get into real estate? You have a business background, you have a degree in business, but why real estate? Let's go there.
Yeah, so I actually was getting groomed to take over my father's company originally. So my background has actually all been legal. So he owns a one of the largest process serving companies in Texas.
Oh, wow.
So like the you just got served that's what we did. I mean, that's what I grew up in. Um, and then I graduated. I was planning on doing it. It was a little bit right after the recession. So it was tough, like even getting a job. So me and my husband, we actually ended up going and living in China for 2 years. And
Oh,
then we taught English because I mean the job market was really bad and we were only 22 and I wasn't ready for the whole, nailed down in the career and everything that we were kind of brought up and taught, like this is what you're supposed to do. And we kind of rebelled against that. And then my dad reeled me back in and was like, okay, I have a job offer for you. Come back and do it. Be my client relations and marketing coordinator. I'm sorry, director at my company. So I came back. I did that for 2.5 years. If anybody has ever worked with family, they'll probably feel this, but I was beginning to not have the best relationship with my family. And family is like huge to me. So I was like, you know what, this isn't working out. And my husband is a real estate photographer, and what at the time his boss actually said, hey, I know this top producing agent here in Austin. She's looking for an assistant position. She's looking for an assistant. And I think you would really like it. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about real estate. I mean, I like looking at houses, who doesn't?
right.
And I went in and I talked and had an interview with her and it went really well. And I took a big leap from what I had originally been planning on doing my entire life. And I became an assistant to a top luxury agent here in Austin. And it was really fast paced and there was no training or like written training. It was pretty much just figure out how to do it. And I do think that my personality and how I am like I guess my strengths would be okay, I'll figure it out.
Hmm.
Um, which I think a lot of us TCs are like that. Like we accept the challenge of, having to work with multiple different softwares, having to work with, multiple different people, multiple different forms, as well as getting like a wrench thrown at us all the time. So I think that having that type of personality definitely helps you become a better TC when you're able to learn new things and act quickly on those processes that do change, or you know, something happened during the transaction, like the seller didn't do all the roof repairs, and now you're having to figure out how we're going to get to the closing table. We may not be the licensed agent, but man, we carry it all with us when we're doing that transaction. It's just as personal as it is to them sometimes, because
Right.
everybody wants to get to the closing table.
Right. And
Yeah.
no two transactions are ever going to be the same. And like you said, because every time I've started a transaction, I'm like, I just assume I'm a brand new TC every single
Yeah.
time. It's like my first at bat every single time because nothing is going to be the same. Even the easiest ones tend to throw a wrench at the very end, like, oh, we're adding 5 buyers to the contract.
Yes. I
But
will say, but that's one of the things that I love about real
yes,
estate though, is it is always changing. You're always learning something new every single time. It doesn't matter. Like you said, you've done 1,000 transactions and there's always something that you're just like, I've literally done 1,000 transactions. I've never had this happen before. And
right.
that's one of the things that I like about it is you do have your process. So there is some sort of like, where it's going, but dude, sometimes it just blows up in your face and you just have to like, you gotta like grab all the pieces and like try to put them back together. But it keeps it interesting and it keeps it going and like exciting. And sometimes when those like things do blow up and you get to the end, you're just like, yeah, like I did it. Yes, like we did it. Get excited. Like, you get invested into some of these transactions, especially when you have like really cool like buyers that
Hmm.
are first time home buyers. Like they're my favorite. They ask you a whole bunch of questions and you get to kind of help go with them along with their agent. And by the end of it, they're like, thank you so much. Like, you made this so easy. And I'm like, yeah, I did it.
No,
And then of course you have those other ones that the seller's like, please stop emailing me. Do not email me one more email. And you're like, all right, dude.
exactly. No, I completely agree. And that is truly the real definition of a transaction coordinator
Yeah,
or working in real estate. Like there
absolutely.
isn't
The
like an ABC formula to this. Like you can, like you said, you can have your structure, but things are going to blow up.
Absolutely.
And you will have those smooth days that will make you appreciate all those hard days that you had to stick through and lose sleep over, cry, laugh, and like get fired, get hired, all of that. So in that process, so did you get trained? How did you go from assistant to transaction coordinator? Or do you still carry elements of both? Because they are different. And
They
I
are.
think it's important to establish the differences in your career, especially as a business owner. So how did you
Absolutely.
get through that whole phase of your career?
So when I started with my agent, I was her admin. But in those responsibilities, I had to handle all of her transactions as well. So when I started on day one, she had 13 transactions.
Wow.
And
Really quick before you
oh, of
continue, for
course.
anyone listening wanting to get into transaction coordination, that is a lot.
Yes.
So don't let anyone tell you that anything under 20, even under 15, even 10 is a lot, especially when it's day one.
Yes.
You're inheriting a lump sum of transactions that here,
Oh,
go
yes.
do these 1,000 piece puzzles with your eyes closed.
Exactly. And granted, I had no real estate experience. I had never done a transaction. I had never purchased a home, nothing. And she gave me an inspection report. I remember this vividly. She gave me an inspection report and she said, pull out the items that you think that should be done. I had no idea what that meant.
Yes.
So I, being myself, coming from marketing and client relations, I just went and I made a beautiful Word document of everything that the inspector said. I was like, everything needs to go on there because it all needs to be done. Then I brought that to her. I was so proud. I was like, yes. I was like, it looks good. I was like, it looks great. Like it's all nice. I pulled everything out of the inspection. She looked at it and she was like, no.
Oh,
It was like a shock to my heart. I was like, oh God, what did I do wrong? But that's literally how I learned the entire process of how to do a transaction. It was like trial and error the whole time. That night, that day, I printed off all the contracts. I printed off the most of the addendums that we would see constantly that she said that we use on a daily basis. Um, and I went home and I studied those. Like I read through all of them, I highlighted them. I went back and I looked at her past transactions and I looked at the old contracts that she had and I highlighted everything. And then you slowly start to see kind of like a pattern how she normally wrote her transactions and stuff. And in my role at that time, she would call me, I wrote her transactions, and I handled all of her transactions. I slowly built this system with her with transaction management and assisting. I mean, I did lead generation as well, with Follow Up Boss, and I started training newer agents as they came in because my experience was when with the agent that I was working with, she had a lot of transactions. She would average about 50 transactions a year. So it
wow.
was a good amount of transactions. And these are luxury transactions. Most of them are over $1 million. So that is what I learned. That's how I got into it. And slowly after every transaction or every wrong or everything, I slowly started to build this transaction process that I did. And when I started, it was an Excel spreadsheet and my calendar. Like that's
That's
what I did. I did start using templates, but I would go back into my sent folder, like copy and then paste it. This is, before I knew everything that I know now. When you're
it.
starting out, you use the tools that you have And at that time, I wasn't going to ask her to like spend money on anything. So
Right.
I used, I used what was free and what was readily available, and it worked. And it worked very well. I ended up slowly but surely, I started doing more transactions, and then her and the broker decided, you know what, I want Ashley to start doing offering and transaction coordinating to our agents in the office. So I
Nice.
started doing that on top of her admin work. And then they hired somebody else to help do lead generation, but it just became a lot. I
Right.
wanted to stick to the transactions. I loved that part of it. I had a really good system. I was managing about 30 transactions before I left. And that was when I decided, you know what, I really want to offer this because I want to offer this to other agents. I
Yeah.
want to be able to offer this service. And and then I did. And I started my own company, unlicensed.
I love it. I love it. You dropped so many great key points in all of that. And uh, how many years of doing that in-house? Was that about 2 years, two and a
Two
half
two
years?
and a half, yeah. So I was with her for 2.5 years. And it was, I always like to say that she kind of like threw me in like the lion's den.
Yeah.
And then I just like learned how to tame the lions. Like, it was it was extremely hard and difficult, and there was a lot of tears and a
Hmm.
lot of frustrations, and it was extremely stressful, but I learned so much. Like, I don't think you could learn that from a book or from
No,
instructions. Like, it is something that you just learn from experience.
a lot of trial and error,
A lot of
a lot of
trials.
more error.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So many
So
errors.
many errors, but
So many
that
errors.
that is your greatest teacher. And
Yes.
when people ask me, oh, how do I become a transaction coordinator? And I give them, my spiel, the basics, but I say it's going to take a lot more work. And I want to be honest and upfront with you before you come into this and realize, oh, this isn't for me, because I don't want to put in all that work.
Yeah.
So, what was your mindset going in from, because you said your dad had his own business, so you kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit lingering within your household growing up, whether you embraced it or not. But how did you go from in-house assistant to owner, entrepreneur, boss? Like, what was that journey for you?
It was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done, personally.
Wow.
Going out on your own, no matter if you have the money in reserves or not, it's scary. It's very scary. And at the end of the day, you don't have anybody else to blame but yourself.
Right.
So it is very scary. I was very, very fortunate in my transition that my husband, we didn't have any kids at the time. My husband was making enough to cover all of our costs just with his income, which was a huge factor in me transitioning and switching into that. I also had my first client was absolutely amazing. She's still my client till this day. And she kind of took me under her wing and she said, hey, I need a little bit more of like an assistant admin role, and I can give you like so many hours,
Mm.
a month or like a week or a month, if that's something that's interested to you. And I said, absolutely. That helps me out, getting, going on and taking that huge leap to go by yourself. It is extremely scary, but man, is it worth it.
It's Yeah.
It's been fantastic. I love it. Um, but I'm not going to say it's for the faint of heart. I mean, you have to put in the work every single day because you are your own boss, and you can get easy. And this is for agents as well.
Right.
I used to tell a lot of new agents when they started working at the brokerage, like, dude, you're not working. Yeah, you may have ended your 9 to 5, but now you're working 24/7. When it's your company, it is extremely hard to turn it off. Like,
Right.
I have boundaries with my agents, like a lot of TCs do. I work 9 to 5 with my agents. but I don't stop working at 5. Like
Right.
my poor, I
Continue.
have, yeah,
Your brain
I
is
have
never
2
off.
employees. Yeah, I have 2 employees, and we use Telegram and to like message. I feel so bad because sometimes, yeah, I'm like, it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm sending her like social media ideas, or, hey, this is something that we should do. Like my it never stops. Like, yes, my clients, I stop at 5, but my ideas on the business, like, they don't stop. Like, I can be out with coffee and even when I'm out with coffee, I'm videoing it for as real,
Right.
for social media for my business.
That is
It is extremely hard to turn off.
it's so relatable. A lot of
Yeah.
my friends are like, "Oh, have you watched this show? Have you watched this show?" And I'm like, I don't know how to explain this without sounding maybe a little arrogant, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's really difficult for me to sit and watch a series unless it's like my treat to myself. But
Yeah.
but even then, my brain is constantly being inspired, or
Yes.
or on the flip side of that, I'm thinking I could be making money right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm losing out on opportunities. So I need to go back to my desk. But I also have to have boundaries with myself and self-care, and whatever my treat is or my enjoyment is, I still have to incorporate that in my life. I can totally relate because you are responsible for everything. And that's why I asked, I was like, going from 9 to 5 is one thing, but going into that 24/7 is a whole different journey because you're thinking about things you never even thought about.
Oh yeah.
And not to mention, excuse me, not to mention not always knowing where your next dollar is going to come in.
Yeah.
That to this day for me is still the toughest part. And we could talk about that in a whole different
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh yeah.
But you understand. And how are you handling that and embracing that just the financial aspect of your business and feeling comfortable and reassuring yourself like we are safe, we are covered? Because you said in the beginning, your husband was like, we got this. And it
Yeah.
takes sacrifice and being honest, like, okay, maybe we don't need this 5 days a week. We could just cut it down to 1 day a week or whatever, however you navigated that. But money,
Yeah.
let's talk about
It's
it.
yeah. So I will say my financials were absolutely in disarray. Not like bad or anything, but I wasn't taking I wasn't looking at them. I was just like, if I have money in the bank, I'm good. Like and
That's honest. Yes.
yeah, I do think that, especially at the beginning, you're just like, if I have money in there, I'm excited. And it wasn't until I hired a business coach, that told me like, hey, like literally the first thing she told me to do was, we got to know where your financials are.
Mm-hmm.
So that was literally the first thing that I did when I took that step in, like, hey, I want to grow my business. This is something that I want to do. I want to actually be, I want to be an actual business owner, and it's not just going to be, I don't want to be just a one PC person.
Right. It's not a
So
hobby. It's not a side hustle. This is
exactly, like
now my life.
I want to grow it. So that's exactly what we did. We got my financials in order, and I have to constantly tell myself, hey, that amendment, that email can wait. You need to get with your financials. I still to this day, even my business coach on last Friday was like, you have to invoice your agents the next day after after the transaction closed. You have to invoice them if I don't get paid on the DA. And I was like, because like right now I do it every Wednesday. Before I did it every Wednesday. Well, I mean, it was taking like 2 weeks for my agents to even pay me, and I have a lot of AR issues right now because agents. Girl, don't even get me talking on that. Agents are the ones about paying bills.
They are
But
in their own little world.
yeah, but getting into that, I would say you get into this mindset where, and even with transaction coordinators, where you look at yourself as a transaction coordinator, but you need to be looking at yourself as a business owner.
Yes.
And that's something that like David Breckheimer always talks about. Like, you're not a realtor, you're not a transaction coordinator, you're a business owner. So you need to treat like your business as an actual like as a business, like what are your, what's your income? What are your expenses? What are what is your expected growth? What is your expected income? And it is a struggle still every day to, set time aside and, actually work on my financials and work on that money. But when I was starting out, man, no never came out of my mouth.
Oh,
Like, oh,
same.
you need me to do that? All right, I'm doing it. Like with my first client, like I said, I was doing admin tasks, stuff that I would never do as a TC. But I mean, I needed that money. Like I needed the money to do it. So I didn't have, you have the ability, but like, do you have the cash or the enough to say no to somebody when they ask you for it? And no, I didn't. Like, I needed to make that money. So I did admin work. I would drive around with her. I'd go to her listing presentations, take notes, helped her like rebrand her entire brokerage.
Wow.
But I will say one of the things that really helped me was offering marketing services to realtors, because it seems what happen real estate is secular. So it goes up, it goes down, especially with transactions. And I already knew that being an assistant before, like during, the fall, and then sometimes in January, February, your transactions go down. So I needed a way to supplement that income if I didn't get those transactions. So that's why I decided to offer marketing and social media services, was to help my income become a little bit more balanced during those times. And that helped me out, and it helped me get into the door of a lot of realtors where I actually started with their marketing services and eventually earn their transaction business, or the other way around. I'd start off with their transactions and then they're like, hey, can you actually do this postcard for me? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, come on down. Like, I got marketing for you. What's up? So that definitely, it helped with the money issue of having some sort of like constant income coming in.
I love that. I think that's important. And you played on your skills that you have. And sometimes most times real estate can be mundane and boring. And if you are a natural creative as well, if you're not feeding or allowing that part of you to live, you can get sucked into this world of, like you said, I had no boundaries. I said yes to everything.
Yep.
Ride-alongs, things like that. And it's like, you're not really using your time as effectively and wisely. And on the back end, your personal health is suffering.
Yes.
So that was like a typical day in the life in the beginning, which was same to the where I burnt out. I
gotta hustle, baby.
You have to hustle. But I think the ultimate journey of bosshood, entrepreneurship, is not so much navigating how much money you could make, but how you're making that money, like good money versus bad money.
Yep.
Like, there are times when you do have to put your head down, do the work, and it's going to come to you. But then when you look up, you're like, am I really happy with that? Did I really want to continue down this path? So much like how you said you reassess and do your best to make it a point to revisit things like your money, your finances, it's important to also do that with yourself. Like, okay, well, you pivoted and you were like, okay, I see a gap. Let me offer this marketing tool to them. And it's manifested into this other thing for you. You know what I mean? So what would you say keeps you productive? Is it a tool? Is it a quote? Is it, a system that maybe someone else could implement in their journey, or, take from, to just keep you focused? Or is it something you're still working on? Because
it's definitely something I am still working on. I will say what has helped me set up a lot of my boundaries are my kids. I got pregnant my first year starting my business. So I started my business in 2019, and my son was born in 2020. So I was literally pregnant while I was starting my business.
And a pandemic.
Oh God, just having a kid during a pandemic is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But I will say I didn't have boundaries up until not even then, actually, because
it's a work in progress, guys.
I was in labor. I was in labor and I had my laptop on that's literally one of my husband's favorite photo to show everybody. I had my laptop while I was in labor, but I mean, it helped me not think about the contractions,
Mm-hmm.
but once my kids came into it, that's when I was like, hard stop at 5. Like that is when my boundaries really started coming in, because I think, um, me personally, I did grow up with a very entrepreneurial, family just in general, but I also saw that they worked all the time. My dad works all the time, and that was something I didn't want. So for me, like an entrepreneur, what your idea in situation is where you're making money with less time.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my goal, is where I can be making money when I'm not working, or I have somebody that's like managing it and I get to spend more time with my kids. That that's my end goal, is make money without having to work as much, or
I
try not to work.
I'm down for that movement for real.
Yeah. So, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. And it really comes down to your why. And they
Yeah.
become your why immediately.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and sometimes we don't see the signs right away, or sometimes it takes something as extreme as a birth, or
Yep.
or being
Yeah.
fired, or whatever the case. And
Yeah.
and thankfully that was the biggest blessing for you, not just in that moment, but in the long run.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine having to keep that same yes man
Momentum. Oh
mentality
yeah.
with a child or two children, or even just yourself
Yeah.
without kids. Like that's
No,
not
short term, great. Long term,
long
no,
term.
you're gonna get burnt out, and you're gonna end up going somewhere else, because you're gonna get tired, you're gonna get exhausted, and hopefully you don't have a mental breakdown. I mean, I was real close to it, especially at the end of my job. It was just not very healthy anymore.
You mentioned
Yeah.
you have a coach, right?
Yes,
Coach,
I do.
mentor. I have been working with my coach for we're approaching our 3rd year, but it has been so transformative for me. And
Yes.
I promote coaching. I would love to be a coach. I'm working on that as well on the side. How did you choose your coach, or know like this is right for me?
Yeah. So, not this last convention, but the convention before, I went to the NASREP convention,
Okay.
in San Diego. And I didn't even know that there was like a national association. Well, I mean, there's not really anymore. But we have these amazing conventions for transaction coordinators and for admin. And I went there, and I was amazed, absolutely amazed by these amazing women that have built, these transaction companies and expanded into different states. And, all I could see was, this is that I want to be them. That's my goal. I want to do that. That's amazing. So I really, I was really inspired by them. And I met my coach there at the convention. I've been working with her now for over a year. Actually, we just hit our year, and it has been invaluable. I thoroughly look forward to our phone calls, and I get to text her like when I have wins, or when I have really bad fails, or like something out of my control. But I get to text her, and I get to see a perspective, and like how I can change this, or how I can do this in my business, from somebody that I admire, and somebody that is where I want to be eventually. And having that accountability, I
Mm-hmm.
think, is probably one of the biggest things for me. I am fantastic at working in the business. I'm terrible at working on the business.
Mm.
So I've really, really been trying to focus more on how I can work on the business instead of just in it, so I can grow, and I can get those, I can grow and get, to their level.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And just living in what you define as success and reaching those
Yes.
heights. And it's important to have that accountability. And, I paused one of my months, and I feel like I lost my damn mind in that whole
Yeah.
month, because I was like, I think I'm gonna take a break, see if I could do this on my own. And then I was like, no,
Yeah.
I need it because there's something
Yes.
about just having that person. And it's not like it doesn't mean that you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
It's more so like that reminder, like, okay, that little voice that you need to say, okay, well, we could push a little harder. And it's also affirming to yourself and digging out like that power that exists in us that we don't allow to shine. And we
Yes.
have so much more power than we give ourselves credit for. And if it takes working with someone to do that, to be able to start other businesses alongside this TC business. And that's what I want to get into next. But I want to just focus on, just highlight the fact that you do have coaching or mentoring in place to get to those new levels, because we can't
Absolutely.
do everything by ourselves, especially as solopreneurs and as TCs specifically. The list of tasks that we do in a day is
Yeah,
extensive. And that's just on a
exactly.
with a smooth transaction. That's not the ones where you said things blow up in your face. Like,
Exactly. I definitely think that once you're able to afford it, it becomes invaluable
right.
because not only are you talking to somebody that has experience, but they can give you outside perspectives on how to look at things from different angles and from different ways. And I think that definitely helps because sometimes you get so focused and so narrow minded that sometimes you need somebody to be like, actually, let's look at it like this, or let's, instead of doing this, why don't have you tried this out, or have you tried this, has this worked for you? And it becomes like an epiphany moment where you're like, it's like, I
Right.
didn't even think about that, like that's amazing, like that's what we need to do.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely all like
I that's
being asked
yeah.
the right questions
Yes.
throughout
That
the
and I don't know everything. Like, yeah, you give me a contract, absolutely. Like, I know how to do that. But you tell me how much I need to make, like, so I can hire somebody else. I'm like, what? I don't
what
know. Like, I don't know how much, and having
exactly.
somebody that you can run those numbers with, and that can help you and guide you in that. It's great. It's
And
fantastic.
yeah, invaluable, like you said.
Yeah.
So now I want to transition to the TC Social Club.
Yeah.
How did we get here? What is it? And go for it. Just tell
Yeah,
us more
okay.
about it.
So speaking of business coaches, this was actually my business coach's idea. It wasn't even in my wheelhouse. I wasn't even thinking about this. And she just brought it up. And she brought it up for like 2 or 3 months. And she was just like, you should I really think this would be something that you should do. And that I really think it would be a good thing. And I said, okay. I ran with it. So the TC Social Club is a membership for transaction coordinators specifically. Currently, right now, it's social media marketing. So what I did is I meet and I have a marketing coordinator as well that work my employee, and we work on giving the transaction coordinators a full month worth of captions and images for them to use on their social media. It is all TC geared and it follows the 5 pillars of social media content. So with my business that I do right now, I offer social media for realtors and we do personalized social media with them. I don't do templated like I do with the TCs, but in that I've learned and taken a lot of training and a lot of classes from all different creators and all different real estate, marketers, and have taken that knowledge and try and now instilled it with TCs to help, because I think that no matter what business you're in, you can take advantage of social media to grow your business, to bring awareness to your brand, and really expand your online profile to gather new clients, to make sure that you're staying ahead of your clients as well, um, and to eventually grow your business. So that is something that we created, and it's gotten really great feedback. It's been fantastic. I love seeing my templates being used by other TCs and them getting likes. And then we also, on top of that, we also send weekly emails with the trending Instagram reels. So we give ideas and examples for Instagram for them to do their own reels. And to say I love TC reels, it's always so much fun. Like they're so great and so many of them get used, and it's so exciting to see like something that you created being used by other people. I mean, it is, as like a content creator, it's like it's amazing and I love it. But what we're working towards is currently we are working on a marketing library for transaction coordinators. So we will have newsletters, postcards. I'm working on email scripts for just like how to, if are you increasing your pricing, or I'm even working on, I need to fire my agent.
Yes. Yes.
And newsletters and postcards and email signatures and texting templates as well. Just these aspects of where these, like you said, as TCs, we have, David Berkheimer always says it, like we do 100 tasks, 100 tasks for every transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Most transaction coordinators are juggling anywhere from 15 to like 30, 40, 50 transactions at one time. That's a lot of tasks that they're, trying to juggle.
Right.
But we still have to grow our business. We still need to market. It doesn't just fall on our laps. So I'm hoping that with this membership, with this marketing, and with social media, we're making it easier for TCs to not spend so much time on having to create it, but instead just updating a little bit, tweaking the design, rebranding it to themselves and getting it out, to grow their business and to really, help them, establish a brand and market to other realtors.
Right. And social media is a full-time job in itself.
Yes.
And for you to come in and say, hey, I'll do this part for you. It's just up to you to post it, be consistent with it, but you don't have to do the heavy lifting per se.
Right.
And that's inspiring because I love social media. And
Yeah.
I'm on there constantly. I try my best not to just be aimlessly scrolling.
Yeah.
But you do a great job as well. That's how I found you on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's someone I want to talk to. Whether it's an interview or just DMing or we work in some capacity, I don't know. But she seems really cool and she understands, like you get it. You get social media. Like part of it is fun. The other part is data. The other part is just whatever you make it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can actually go into that. So I will say TikTok has the worst messaging, their worst DM. Like their messaging is absolutely terrible. So TikTok, if you're watching, you need to get up on, you need to work on that.
Right. I agree completely. I get so nervous when I DM people. I'm like, they're not going to see it because I'm not going to see it.
I know my DMs are like, they go all the way down. I talked about the 5 pillars, so I'll expand a little bit on that for social media. So when I say 5 pillars, it means that there's like 5 different types of content that you can kind of work on. So it's like educational, promotion, engagement, community, and then self. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of like the 5 generic pillars that you can kind of pull from to get content. So like education wise is something where you teach somebody through there. It's not constantly like, hey, I'm a TC. Hey, I'm a TC. Hey, do you need a TC? Hey, I'm a TC. Instead, it's like you're going to actually educate them. So you're going to create a post about a form that a lot of agents fill out incorrectly. You're going to say, hey, are you making these mistakes? Here's how, here are some tips on the mistakes that I see from compliance.
Right.
And then you also have, like your promotion. Those are the ones that you're maybe like a little bit more promoting, like, hey, I do listing services. Do you have a listing coming up? I'd love to help you. Or this is a listing I just put up. And then community. I love community. I'm in Austin, so I highlight local area. I highlight local stuff that's happening in the community, but it also can be in the real estate community as well, like highlighting other trainings that are happening, or if you're doing a training or anything like in the real estate industry is considered community, like as long as you're not just promoting yourself.
Right.
And engagement is going to be anything like where you ask them a question or you try to engage in your, in your community to engage in that type. So contests are really great, or quizzes or polls are a lot of fun. I like gifts. I use a lot of engagement with gifts. I like the funny stuff. Like, it makes me laugh and it keeps me engaged, literally. So I've always tried to do that. And then, of course, self. Um, with social media, it is so personable. And your engagement will increase the more people see your face.
Mhm.
It is statistically proven that that is the case. So anything that you can do to show up on your social media is fantastic. I show my kids and me a lot. I can't help it. They're freaking adorable. But it's just some of the things that I like to post about myself, or, being a mom. I love the TikTok mom ones. Like, some of them, they're just hilarious, like trying to juggle being a mom and, being a business owner is really hard, but it's also really funny. Or you highlight some of your hobbies, if you like to knit, like, dude, show us some of your knitting, like show us knitting patterns. Like, there could be somebody that will relate to you because they love to knit. Or I have an agent that runs, and he runs like every day on marathons, but he has created this little community of runners that he runs with, and he gets, engagement, and he's also gotten clients from it because they relate to him. They start watching him and they're like, oh, well, he runs and he's also a realtor. And I like that. Like, I'm gonna go for that. So I love social media. There's so many different ways that you can come and you can show up on it, that it's exciting. Again, it's always changing. It's just like real estate. So like Instagram, the logarithms, all last year it was reels. We got to do reels. We got to do reels. Now they're like, way, we're going to pull reels back a little bit, but carousels, do carousel posts. And I love it. I read about it all the time. I have like 5 books right now about social media, mostly for realtors, but it's because it's in the real estate industry. It really does everything. But man, I could talk forever about real
No,
estate. I could
and
talk about social media forever.
same. I could listen to you talk about it. I could talk about it, and we'll touch back on this again. But you do
Yeah.
have a coupon code, right, for 10% off the first month for TC Social.
Yeah, no, actually, it's technically 50% off. So I have it for $10 off. So the TC Social Club right now is $20 a month. I have a coupon code up until the end of April. Starting May, the coupon code won't be there anymore, but it gets you $10 off your first month. So literally, you get a full month's worth of content for $10. And then everything after that is $20 a month. But it's $20 for an entire month's worth of images that is through Canva. So you get to edit it, you get to update it to your, to your brand. And all the captions with ideas on like lifestyle posts, or like to change it into a reel. And then come May, it will still be $20, and we are going to be adding, I'm building the website right now and the membership portal, which has been awesome. It's like, talk about like creative juices. Like, it's just, I love it. Being able to like create it and everything has been so much fun. So it'll have a brand new website. I'll have a client portal, like a membership portal that you can go in and see all of the different types of assets that we're going to be, updating. And then every month we'll have new content. Not with just social media, but also with like flyers and all different kind of stuff, pop buys, anything that you can think of. Like, I scour the Facebook groups all the time. When somebody's like, oh man, does anybody have this? I'm like, all right, we gotta do one. We gotta add that in there somewhere.
That's
So
perfect.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great, great tool for TCs.
That's amazing. So definitely you guys jump on this now, because if you're listening in 2023, this is a steal.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this next year or 5 years from now, you missed out on a great deal.
Definitely.
Because social media is not easy. And like you said, it's important to show bits and pieces of your life without giving too much, but just to
Yeah,
humanize the process as well, because
absolutely.
we get caught up in the algorithm, hashtags, and my, trending sounds. What's a trending sound? GIF versus GIF, like
Yeah.
what is it?
Yes.
So it's like iPhone, Droid, there's the
Yes.
Canva, AI, Chat GPT. Like it's moving so rapidly that if you could outsource this work for you in a way that all you have to do is just hit a couple of buttons and it's
Yeah.
made and ready made for you, and then you can also establish a community and meet like-minded people and be inspired in that aspect. I think this is genius, and it was important for me to just be able to highlight that and share that with my community as well, and let people know because it's
Yeah.
important.
I will say though, I will say social media can be a great tool, but especially with like Instagram, it is a pay to play. So you
Yes.
have to engage in your social media. You cannot just spend one day, post everything for the month, and hope that your social media grows.
No.
You have to go in there, you have to engage with your community, comment, liking, sharing, everything, putting stories up. It's still you still gotta do it, but you do it in those like mindless, like scrolling times. Like if I'm in line at like a really long line for the grocery store, I'll like, I'll scroll. But instead of just like scrolling aimlessly, I go in there and I'm actually looking, like for me, like specifically, I'm looking for realtors. So I'll follow 3 new realtors. I'll comment on 5, realtor profiles, and I'll like 10 posts and I'll share a story. That's my 1, 3, 5, 10 daily goal, you know. And
It's
you can
that
do
simple.
that. Yeah, you can do that literally in line at the grocery store or, waiting, don't do it while you're driving. But hey, when I'm waiting for my Starbucks sometimes,
Right.
or my Taco Bell, I will go. I'm in the drive-through, like
Exactly.
I will scroll sometimes. Just depending on how long the line is. And
Yeah.
it helps. You will see an increase in your engagement guaranteed. I do that for my business. I don't post every single day in mine, but I still get clients because I show up on theirs.
Mm.
I've just this year alone, actually, just in the last 2 weeks, I've landed 3 new clients based off of social media.
Wow.
And this is just not, they didn't like see my posts and stuff, but I constantly was showing up on
Mm.
their posts or I was commenting on their stories and, saying like, dude, you're rocking it. Like you're doing amazing. And I ended up landing 3 clients, I've already gotten two from one, and I got another listing. I got a listing from one. So being there, like even if you're not posting every day, engaging in your community, it's fantastic.
I'm so glad you brought that point up because I think the number one excuse people make when it comes to, or have when it comes to social media is that I don't know what to post, or I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't like my voice. Like there's all these blocks that we put up, right?
Yeah,
But you hit it on the head. It's the engagement.
yeah,
That's why we post. We want people to comment and like and share. We don't say those things at the end or the beginning of our videos for nothing, just because
yeah,
one creator said it. That's what we're working for.
exactly.
The engagement, because if I like Ashley's post, or if I repost it, or if I make a comment, or if she does a stitch of it like she has, her audience now sees my content. And if you're a little bit more advanced, you might make some controversial statements, not like the worst kind, but
Yeah,
there's a specific post that you actually stitch that I intentionally post because I know it's going to get a similar reaction. Like it's
exactly.
it's going to trigger people to be like, no, I don't, no, that's
Yeah,
I don't agree with that. That's
it's
just
engagement.
it's the
Yeah,
engagement.
you post it for engagement specifically. No, it's a like
Exactly.
great tool to do
Exactly. So
and
the
strategy. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're the type right now at this stage in your life where you don't want to post, maybe you're not comfortable showing your face or your family, go in the comments, go
Yeah.
like, go save, repost it to your stories. Or if you have no idea how to use social media, search, there's a search box. Use it
Yeah.
like the same way you use Google. How to use Instagram. People make reels and TikToks and tutorials for this and YouTube videos. So the answers are out there. The community is out there. The engagement is there. You just have to put yourself out there. And if
Absolutely.
and little by
And
little, just challenge yourself and take bigger risks. And one day you'll get to posting your face on there, your voice, and you
yes,
know,
and it doesn't have to be perfect.
no.
Man, it is not, nothing is
Oh,
ever perfect, but consistency in posting something is better than posting nothing,
right.
when it comes to it. And I always hear that. I don't like the way my voice sounds. Kelsey Keats does what to post, and I went to her training here in Austin, and she was like, have you ever went into a meeting and somebody, as you were talking, you were presenting to them, and they stopped you and they were like, I don't like your voice. Like, no,
Right.
never said that. It's just you. It's your self-conscious just saying that. And it like clicked with me. And I was like, yes. I was like, nobody has ever said that except about my laugh. But you know what? Like, I'm gonna do it. Like, and I started doing it. And it is very true. Like, I mean, unless you're like Fran,
Oh yeah.
I
But
mean,
even
that could
then,
be a little
it's an
different,
act.
but
Even
I
then,
mean,
it is an act.
but seriously, nobody's gonna go, oh, no, no, no. It's like you're self-conscious, especially, hearing your voice on recorder, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to film in the best light. I film in my car, I film in terrible lighting, but I show up and it's
Mhm.
real and people relate to it. So I think just literally just showing up to your social media is it's going to help you get engagement. Gosh, you should see some of the posts that I started when I first started social media. It like I look at them and I'm like, oh God, they were so ghastly. But that's how you learn. It takes a while. It's a process. Like, um, you won't. You try things. Some things work and some things don't. You're constantly learning. You're constantly trying out content, and how to. You can have the same content and you get to deliver it in six different ways, and you're going to see different engagement on all those different ways of how you present it, what type of medium you use. Are you using video? Did you use a carousel, a single image? I mean, did you use a GIF? Like, there's so many ways that you can do it, and it's again, it's like real estate. It's always changing. It's always fun. You just get to
Exactly.
you just keep doing it. But
Yeah.
yeah, don't post anything but engage on all you realtors, like
You will see
following
the
all of
growth.
them. You're showing up still. Like, you're still showing up. So
Exactly.
little
And
steps.
yeah, little steps. And when
Yep.
you post, don't be so consumed at, oh, no one liked it or no one saw it, because the algorithm, if we're going to speak technical, it could pick up your video a week later and shove it out to people,
Yep.
or it may not. And I take that as, okay, I got more practice in front of the camera. And actually, just yesterday or 2 days ago, I wasn't in the mood to post, but I was like, okay, I don't have enough in-app posts. Let me just post one TikTok from the app that isn't
Yeah.
pre-recorded. And like I said, I wasn't going to post it. I didn't feel my best, but I was like, F it. Let me just do it.
Yeah.
And it's still not, I think it has like 40 views or less than 50, right? And to me, that's kind of low, but it's
Yeah.
still better than zero. But what I'm trying to get at is that one post got me to be invited to be a guest on someone's podcast.
See, that's awesome.
And that was one of my goals to accomplish by July.
Yeah.
I said it the day before, and then the next day someone was like, "Hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast."
Yes.
And I was like, this, and it just was another subtle reminder. Like, it doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to be the best quality. It just has to be real, and you just have to show up.
Yeah.
You just
Oh,
have to show up.
exactly. And
So
I'm also
great.
one more thing I
Go
have.
for it.
Do not worry about how many followers you have.
Yes.
I am a huge person at, I want quality followers over quantity of followers.
Yes.
My services, like most of my services are in Texas. And most of my agents, even still, are in Austin. I have agents in other cities, but I do have a lot like in Austin. But I don't need to have 20,000 followers. I need to have like 300 realtors that are clients. Like that's what I want. Like I don't need 20,000 random people watching my stuff. It's not going to relate to them. But hey, you give me like 300 realtors that are watching my stuff, like awesome. I will take that over 20,000 any day. So just remember, follower account, and half those influencers they pay for them at first anyway. So don't worry about it.
Right. Exactly. And this is awesome. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
I know. I literally I could probably talk about this for another 2 hours.
I I would love to, but I also, we could do a part two. We'll do a part
Yeah,
two, like a super deep dive with our, social media
I
experience
know that.
and all of that.
I can hear my daughter crying.
All
Her
right,
poor
so
husband has both the kids right now. I
oh
already
my
know.
gosh. Well, this has been perfect. I'm just going to ask you a couple last questions just
Yeah,
to
of
wrap things
course.
up. But you've given us so many keys. I'm going to go back. I feel like this is one of those episodes I'm going to listen to more than once. And I
That's
hope you all
awesome.
do too as well. Take what you can from this, clip it up, repost it, share it, tag us. All of the information will
Yes.
be in the description. But like I said, you've given us so many keys. So just to wrap things up, how do you stay empowered?
Man, I will say, you know how you always had like, did you ever have like those CDs, like, when back in the day when you used to have
Oh
CDs, like
yeah,
mine were always
I
like the
still
girl
have
powered ones. Yes,
I
like,
still have my
like your
collection.
girl. I I love women empowerment in general. Like I love women that are on top. And it shows. Most of my friends are actually all of my friends are just like badass women. And that's what I love. Like that's one of the things that keeps me going is like I really just love to be like a badass woman. Like yeah, I own my own business. What's up? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
like I do. I love that. And I have a son and I have a daughter. And I always think that I want them to grow up knowing that they had a badass, business owning mom, just kicked ass. Like that is I love that. I love women empowerment in general. And it is one of the things that I love to do. Like I love to say, yes, I own my own business, I have a company. And it's just that's one of the things that keeps me going is I want it to grow and I want it to get bigger. So that's my goal. That's what keeps me going.
that is beautiful. And that actually kind of ties into the final question I ask all of my guests is, what is one goal you don't mind sharing publicly to just put out there to the universe to accomplish soon or later? But
Yeah,
what keeps
I
you
so
accountable?
my little goal is to get another CC eventually, but I want to grow. I have a different little bit of ideology when it comes to TC. I want to do employee instead of independent. So it's taken me a little bit longer to get there because it's a little bit higher cost. But no, I want to grow. I want to grow not only in my transaction side, but also in my marketing and social media side. I really want to be the go-to person that agents, when they become overwhelmed with these types of tasks, I want them to be like, okay, I'm going to call the real estate assistant. Like they can help me. And I like being there for when they need me and not being there when they don't need me. Because, like I said, real estate is secular, and I don't want them to always feel obligated to have to use me. But I want to be there when they do, and once they do, it's hard to go away. You kind of get addicted to it and you get used to it. And we really try to do as much as possible for our agents so they can really work on building relationships themselves. So that is my goal, is to grow. I want to grow and I want to get bigger and, you know, um, and help more women get empowered. Hire more women, and offer this, thing for them. And I think it would be fantastic. That's my goal.
Perfection. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your businesses, and just empowering me, the audience. I know this is going to resonate with many people out there. So to wrap things up, tell everyone how we could follow you, hire you, work with you, all of that. Go for
Yeah,
it.
of course. So first, if you want to follow me, my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok handle, all of them is Real Estate Assistant ATX. Please go follow, like, share, do all of that fun stuff. Engage with me. Stitch my stuff. I love to do that. You got a controversial thing, come at me. Miami 955. I know you. I'm in Texas. I do transaction management all over Texas. I am a licensed realtor. So you can go to my website, realestateassistantatx.com, and you can find me there. And then I'll give Lily all of my contact information. So if y'all need me or anything, or even if you have a question about social media and you're struggling, shoot me a DM, ask me. I love to talk about it. And I mean, even if you're a TC social member or not, hey, come at me. I like I said, I love talking about social media. I can give you tips, tricks, and stuff, but at the end of the day, it is going to be you that has to really do it. But man, I can talk about it all the time.
Exactly. I know Ashley will be back for a part 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yes.
6, 7.
I knew this was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad I could be your first podcast.
Yes.
I know it's going to be the first of many, so you have a great story, and thank you again for your time. This has been another episode of Transaction Care. All of Ashley's information will be in the body and the description of this episode, but until the next episode, I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon. TransactionCarePodcast.com. Make sure you head to the website right now to subscribe to the team, the squad, the community, to get weekly updates, as well as to know what and who is going to be talked about on the next episodes. It's always a good time, always a fun time. TransactionCarePodcast.com. And if you want to support the brand, go to tccarepackage.com to purchase your Care for Yourself, Care for Your Wealth t-shirt. Right now we have sizes small, medium, large, and extra large. tccarepackage.com. It's that simple, that easy.